Welcome to Galactic Grandmother Heart to Heart. My name is April, and my special guest today is Matthew Aaron Mourian. Matthew is an author. He wrote Remember Your Mission. He is a full-time psychic. He's an energy worker. He has a unique ability to look inside your body and really perceive what's going on with your organs, your chakras, your meridians. So, welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time, Matthew.
Absolutely. Thank you for inviting me. It's truly an honor.
You were talking about the meridians not being recognized as important as they are. Could you talk about how the meridians work together with the chakras?
Oh, yeah. So, what I've noticed is that each of what we would call the non-physical circulatory systems in the body, they're complementary and they're linked. They work in tandem with each other. And what I noticed over the years was that there are key places on the energy body and also on the physical body in which chakras and meridians kind of intersect. The first, most commonly used one is the entrance to the kidney meridian at the bottoms of your feet. For those that understand the meridian system, you'll know we have foot meridians and hand meridians, and that, they will resolve or begin at the tips of our toes or our fingers in certain ways. But the kidney meridian is directly tied to the Earth Star chakra. Why is it tied to the Earth Star chakra? Because the Earth Star chakra is directly underneath your feet and it connects right upward into the arch of the feet for most people. Not that it's specifically about that location, but what I also identified was that there are other places where the chakras will intersect with meridians, and the differences between them. One of the reasons why I think sometimes it's good to specify whether you're working with one or the others, because I've just noticed there's different energies contained in each one. The chakra system, by my observation and experience, is much more involved with what we would call timeline factors, ancestral energies, karmic indicators, experiences that will be lodged within the body that at some stage in our journey we will address or unpack or open up, or we could even use the word depressurize in a certain sense. And within the chakras, I think are contained a lot more of what they refer to in Chinese medicine as heavenly qi, which is also a form of saying non-physical energy that comes from outside of the body. And the wild thing is that within the chakra system, that current of energy seems to carry knowledge and experiences more so than the meridian body, which seems to house more of the immediacy of the physical body, meaning our life force essence, the kundalini, the chi, the prana that is within the body. Now, for those that understand the chakra system, they'll hear me say that and go, well, yeah, Matthew, the chakras do this. Yeah, same thing. Yes, absolutely. But the difference is chakras serve as gateways and passage points of energy, whereas the meridians are much more what we would call the circuitry of the human body. And so I've just noticed that when you're trying to create a more immediate shift within the well-being, the thought forms, or just the energy of a person's physical body. Meaning, when I see people that come in just great states of anxiety or depression, you can just tell there's like a much more immediate component rather than just, I'm just trying to understand my world, kind of want a reading. When we come to the stage of more immediate need, that's where I will begin working with the meridians. And to be very specific, because there's always some really smart people that are like, what do you mean working with meridians? What are you talking about? Acupuncture points? Every now and then, but really, really what we're doing is meridian drainage and meridian clearing. Very much like the chakra system, the meridian system responds to what I would call, this is such a loaded term because real people will hear this and they're like, what is he talking about? Non-physical gravitational effect, meaning that if you can open up the pathways of meridians in your feet, you can use a scalar tone or an audible vibration, and it's sort of like clearing plumbing. And that's honestly where we branch outside of the capsule phrases, and I start to move into more of a ooh, like an actual auditory sound that we'll create. And what I've noticed over the years is that when used thoughtfully with a very specific aim and a very specific intention in the body, will allow you to drain energies, emotions, inflammation from the body, sometimes pain from the body through the meridians. And so the meridians become a little bit more like a plumbing and circulatory system, whereas the chakras serve as experiential gateways of energy. And I'll kind of pause there because watch out, that one I will talk about for hours,
Well,
but I hope that makes sense a little bit.
I have a medical background. I worked in hospitals for over 40 years. So
Yeah.
to me, it sounds like it's the energetic equivalence to organs And then the lymphatic system,
There we
which
go.
drains the everything. When you're talking, I was thinking, okay, well, in the physical sense, it sounds like it's organs and lymphatic
Hmm.
system.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think it's another complementary system that we can work with that the organs just respond to a bit differently. And yeah, that makes absolute sense. It's funny that you mentioned the lymphatic system, which is, I'll just be real once again, hardly anybody out there is talking about it with respect to intuitive development. And this, I believe, is a fact. If you want to create real intuitive clarity within your body, I mean, the ability to understand, oh, that's me. Oh, that's you. Okay, I realize now what's my part and your part. The lymphatic system is probably the most powerful gateway toward understanding clarity, especially when you just look at what it is, the body sewer treatment facility. And in its own way, I often, describe it kind of like the fish tank that gets full of algae and stuff, and the fish are still swimming. Most of the time, they don't care. But when you try to look through it, you're like, what's actually in here. When we take steps to really, really clear the lymphatic system, I think that's one of the stages where you begin to realize and see things around you where you're like, wow, that's been like that this whole time. Oh my God, I'm just now realizing this and this. Like if for people that are stuck in those stages of lack of intuitive clarity, if you work with your lymphatic system, well, not only will your health and the brain fog completely clear up, but it's such a powerful tool and hardly anyone's talking about it. So it's really cool that you know that.
Interesting. I was in radiology.
Okay, cool, cool.
In the old days, we used to do lymphangiograms where the
Oh,
doctor would inject a contrast or dye into the,
yeah.
and we would take pictures as it traveled through the entire lymphatic system all the way down to your feet.
Oh, yeah. That's cool. The lymphatic system also gives us a few of the most powerful entry points into the body. Earlier, I was talking about when you're doing energy clearing, if you understand the entry points, meaning what I would call the more permeable areas within a person's physical body or energy field, and you aim your energy at those in the process of doing the clearing, you will have much greater effect. And it's funny because a lot of those respond to lymphatic areas like the popliteal lymph nodes in the back of your knees, under your arms, the what they call the what is it? The cisterna chyli or chyle, which is right at the top of your, or right at the base of your rib cage. There's like a little lymphatic bulb in there. That's another one, big access point into the body, as is here, like under your arms as well. And I've just noticed over the years that when I'm doing sessions, I will consciously be like, we're gonna aim it there. And when you do that, it's like it allows you to deeply permeate a person's auric field a little bit easier. But I'll tell you, the most accessible, this is my belief. Someone might be like, no, it's not. But actually, no one's saying anything. But what I've noticed is the most permeable area within your energy field. Well, okay, there's two. One is the temples. If you want to really, really send energy into a person's body, aim for the temples. Secondly, right here, right at the base of your throat.
Oh,
And all you got to do is stick your finger there and go, oh, yeah, it is. It's like it goes right in, right? It's a it's a similar concept, as is the back of the head. That one's a little harder to reach for some people because there's a chakra up at the back of your head that sometimes needs to open before you can really affect it. It's called the bindu. But yeah, it's a fascinating thing. That's actually also a thing we're teaching in the chakra class. I think that's week 3, where it's like, what are the access points? How can you assure that you can have greater permeability into the energy body? And anyway, it's somehow it works. So there's also the concept of the sphenoid reset, which is the bone right here, right
mhm.
around the orbit of the eyes, which in the world of energy clearing, that is also one of the most commonly kind of, we could just say, areas that get a little bit open or disconnected. Or, I mean, I'm sure as you know this, for those that don't, the skull is made up of many plates of bone, you know what I mean? And they're all a little bit separate. And this one right here is one I see a lot of people like anointing. So when you're working with your temples or here, you're working with the sphenoid. And the effect that that has, and this is just kind of a weird metaphorical thing, but it's very much like if you've ever been in the shower and you notice there's a draft coming in and you're like, where's that cold air coming? And it's like you're closing the gaps, you're closing those openings in your energy field. And the sphenoid right here has this effect that's almost pure mental body. So it like responds to the thought forms that you gather from other people, the thought forms that are within your body. And what's even crazier is it connects directly to two meridians, the triple warmer and the gallbladder meridian. And for those that understand both of those, they hold, well, first of all, triple warmer is a very mysterious place, holds a bunch of, emotions and physical, all kinds of stuff. But more importantly, the gallbladder meridian is what I call the king of thought forms. For people that have constantly circulating, running thoughts, or you're stuck in a memory from 2008, or you're standing in the shower thinking of stuff from 1995, and it's not always trauma, it's just looping. You just keep looping in this thing. That is a really, really good example of gallbladder meridian buildup. And yes, there's tons of physical components to it, but from the mental body perspective, when we're working with these areas right here, you're literally working with gallbladder, triple warmer, bladder as well for people that have tremendous fear or old childhood trauma. Oh man, that's a really, really big one. And anyway, I'll go on and on about energetic anatomy, but
I
yeah.
could listen to you for hours. You had mentioned the frequency clearing in the body. The cranial nerves can get blocked, and you have a way of opening the crown chakra.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the crown chakra was the first place that I had ever experienced that was open within the energy body. And the initial encounter that I had in 2015, where this woman did what a very, very specific form of energy clearing, that's called Diksha, which really just means blessing in Sanskrit. But what it essentially was an opening of the crown chakra. And during the experiences that I had in which the capsule phrases were being kind of revealed to me and shown, and it's important to mention that I literally mimicked what I heard. I didn't go to a class. There wasn't some being that was like, this
Yeah.
is how it goes. It was me remembering and going, oh, that sound, that one, okay, you know what I mean? And what I noticed within that was that there were certain places that weren't as easy to access. And so what I was given later on were different tools to open those. And so the crown chakra is Ogam Satyam Om, which is Sanskrit. It's a earth-based language. Some people would say it's outside of that, but we'll use specific phrases for that. But I do think the crown chakra is one of the most important places that you can work with in the beginning, and I mean all throughout your awakening journey. But for those that are trying to come to new understandings of reality and what's possible, those that are trying to create what we would call a greater opening for spiritual understandings or non-physical energies. And that's a very big term, right? Because non-physical energies could also mean not so good things, which honestly, with people with overly open crown chakras, you can also be subjected to a host of strange things as well. So it's not always like this beautiful thing, but it's one of the first gateways for a lot of people that will open in the body in the awakening experience. And I think it's one of the ones that can also be closed, meaning that you can very effectively shut down a person's crown chakra and cause them to kind of go back into a state of compression within the self, meaning certain, ideas, desires, tendencies, abilities can actually be suppressed. And I know for me, that was the thing that had happened because I'd kind of started what we would call a bit of the awakening journey in 2012. And I had that experience where I was like, no. And I literally stopped it until eventually it was going to happen when it was going to happen. But I think a lot of that comes from learning how to dilate and open up certain areas in the body. And the crown's a key one, very important, a
Oh,
catalyst.
I
And
have just loved spending time with you.
yeah,
And
you too. Thank you.
really have enjoyed. You are such a wealth of information. Thank you so much for your time. You have a wonderful day.
You too.
I'll talk to you soon.
Cool. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.